All right, and welcome everyone to the Connect-a-thon, and this is the hour 13. And I have with me Jess Alvarez-Parfray from Transition US, and I myself here wearing a few different hats, but including the Global Ecology Network and the Network Steward Circle there. And so our idea and our vision, and I think you're all familiar with the vision being held for this 24-hour Connect-a-thon. So our session will be centered around that, being able to make bridge connections through how we're each sharing, and probably give the space after we do our intros to invite other folks to share, and then weave a bit of connection that way. And if we get enough juice for making breakouts or something, we can do that. But otherwise, I think we'll have a conversation in one room together. And I do see a hand, so let me invite Olivia. Did you have a question? Oh, you are muted, so I won't be able to.
I'm unmuting me. I have unmuted it now, okay?
Yes,
so actually, yes, I know I have. So what I wanted to tell you is just a few things, very simple and brief, as in consistent with what I consider is the time of reckoning that today is. A time of reckoning into which everybody should make their choices into their own lives and grab the power into doing what is adequate into the proceedings, into working and fighting against economic growth, onto sustainability, onto whatever makes sense into their own lives. That is my idea underneath it. Anything that is sensical for them, anything that is meaningful into their own lives, anything that is to the scope and purpose of bringing about a life that is meaningful, purposeful, and against growth, into sustainability, into steady stating, into let's just see whatever else is it, against growth, pure and simple growth. I'm holding the telephone now, so that is the problem. I haven't connected through laptop, I have connected through telephone. Okay.
Well,
So
welcome. And I actually am going to just kind of invite you to pause a little bit, because we're actually just opening up this session, and I just want to make sure that folks have a little bit of the frame of how we're joining together now. And I don't necessarily, perfect. Is that all right? Or do you want to just, maybe finish that last thing you were saying, and then we'll.
Yes, just the last thing that I'm saying is actually the fact that I'm myself a person that upholds my stand in life onto exactly these parameterings and settings of existence that I consider giving more sense and purpose into my own life, against consumerism, against whatever is wasting and degrading the planet. That is all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah. And for a little bit of like a warm up for people too, just kind of things to think about and tune in with, I'm posting in the chat some of the purpose for the Connect-a-thon. So it's just kind of some of the frame that we can consider or think about, as we as we tune in together. And thank you, Olivia, for sharing that. Yeah. And yeah, so I want to just maybe as a little bit of a way to open up and warm up with more than just my voice. Jess, would you like to, just share a little check-in and a little connection, hello, of who you are and what you're up to?
Absolutely. Greetings, everyone. I am out here in rural San Diego County. So this is a meeting place of the ancestral territories of the Cahuilla people, the Kumeyaay, the 𝐂𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐿. And I'm very excited to be embarking on a really new adventure with my family, living off grid. So I'll give you a quick view. We have our solar panels over there. We have our tiny house right here. And we're going to be doing some experimenting and building using earthen techniques and methods. This is my day job. I serve as the executive director of Transition US. I am a mom to a very energetic and brilliant 8-year-old. And it's just always a privilege to be able to gather and share space with folks who are passionate about this work. So I also just want to acknowledge Olivia for the passion that she brought to the opening of the session, because this truly is a powerful time of transformation. So excited to dip into the collective genius with y'all. Pass back.
All right, thanks so much. Yeah, and maybe like that same spirit of people sharing on where they are and how they're showing up, to get a little more feel who's here. I wonder, Toria, would you like to just say hello?
Sure. I wish I could have gone to more of these sessions today, but it's just so wonderful to be around so many people from all over the globe. It's really, it's hopeful, actually, to me, to be participating and doing what I can to help change the way things are going. And my husband and I are committed to this kind of unity, and I don't know, it's so exciting to see what everybody's doing, and everybody in the whole conference that I've seen just seems to be excited to be here and very peaceful. And so I just feel blessed to be part of this process. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I feel so much resonance with that. One thing I was considering and wondering is if there's anybody who was at some earlier sessions that wants to just give a hello and share anything, a little bit of like a musing from any of the other sessions, if you're inclined, although I know it's starting to get pretty late for some of the folks. So I will leave it for a moment just to see. And then I don't know, one of the threads that I think is a spirit of making connections with participants and tuning around common goals and projects and that sort of aspect of the Connect-a-thon, the things that can go beyond now. One of the passion lenses that I work with is called pro-social, and that's also represented through prosocial.world on the net. I'll put it in the chat. And there's another, I don't know, Kathleen, if you're there and you'd like to chime in, but it'd be interesting to just hear from you in the spirit of connecting in, just chiming in, hearing from where people are. I know that you're also a pro-social facilitator, so that's part of why I thought it might be nice to hear from you, but I'm putting you on the spot, so we'll see if you're able to open up your mic and say hi. So Kathleen is not on, which is okay. Yeah, but I did put the pro-social link in the chat too. And I'm kind of curious, yeah, I'm just curious if there is anyone else. You can either raise your hand, your human hand or not, or I guess because I see some folks on video, you can also change your name to include your location if you want. Some folks have already done that, but I feel that balance of putting people on the spot or giving a little pauses, but I'd love to hear some more of the folks who are in the room. And Arlene, I saw your video come on, so would you like to say hello from where you are and what you're into?
Yes, hi, I'm in the Los Angeles area, and I'm so pleased to find this group. And I've missed some of the online gatherings of this group, but I'm going to be monitoring it more closely, and I look forward to being in touch. And I recognize a few names. I've been very involved with the LA Eco Village, for example, Lois Arkin, for those of you who may know it. Who here knows the LA Eco Village? Okay. Yeah, you know, okay. And so I've been very interested in community land trusts and so on. And I'm a recovering architect professionally and an educator. And I'm very interested in land reform and eco-civilization. So thank you so much for hosting this.
Wonderful, thank you, Arlene. Yeah, that's really great to hear from you and that background. I feel like there's so many different aspects of how we could be recovering from the way things have been and tuning into where we're going regeneratively. Love that frame. Roger, do you want to chime in?
Hi, I'm in Brattleboro, Vermont. I just learned of this event about 7 o'clock tonight, so I didn't know what else it's part of a larger event, and that's okay. I've been aware of the transition town movement for, I don't know, 7 years. We've had some transition towns near me, some more successful than others. And community building and healthy community are a very big issue in my interest. I want to pass on, I'm doing something sponsored by the Pachamama Alliance, the people who save the rainforest. It's called the Game Changer Initiative. It's an 8-week online course with small groups and lots and lots of resource materials. And it's been, our small group facilitator has been facilitating small groups in that program for 8 years. And I just first got an email about it this summer, but as far as how to be a productive activist and really make progress, I'm extremely excited about doing this course. I'm up to the 4th module. It's a very intensive 8-week thing. So Game Changer Initiative, I commend it to you. I imagine there'll be one run again next year, if not more than one. That's what I wanted to share.
Yeah, thanks for that, Roger. And if you want, you could also share a link about that in the chat. I believe the chats are also going to be saved, just like the recordings from these sessions. So that's kind of another kind of collective sense making or stigmergic pattern where the things that are shared and all of that will kind of flow together, and the patterns. I did also want to, I think that link will get you to the Kodu space for the Connectathon event if you haven't joined that. If not, I will make sure we get the right one, and folks can, we might even, you know, if it's of interest, we could pop that up on the screen. I liked, you know, seeing Toria, what you were suggesting. I wonder if did you want to share about that that idea about the other sessions, and also other people who might be ready to say hello. You can also raise your hand or turn on your video or signal in some way that you would like to do that.
Well, I was just so excited to see action in motion this morning during one of the sessions. I can't remember what it was, but it was somebody showing some kind of technology. It was Roberto this morning. And he was showing a software system that I believe is decentralized. I don't know, but it showed how people can get paid by appreciation, and you pay through percentages and that kind of thing. And it was just so neat to see that. And then someone else was where we were looking at the Kodu software as well. And then some other people piped in, and then pretty soon by the end of that meeting, they have an action item that all the companies that are participating in some of this type of development, open source development, are going to get together now and start connecting with each other instead of waiting till their products are completely done. And I just thought that was super exciting. We have a decision-making tool we're working on. And so, and again, no advertising, no, you know, selling your personal data, that kind of thing, and just more of a collective instead of a centralized type of a solution, and all working together. And there are ways to get paid through that. And I was neat to see something that practical coming out of a session.
That's really great. Yeah, I'll look forward to maybe watching the recording of that one. I know that some of the development of these tools exactly can happen just, you know, in the flow of these kind of sessions. There's another group that is really worth mentioning around that topic called the Collaborative Technology Alliance, which I'm involved with, and I'll just put the URL in the chat. Again, partly that pattern of just, you know, getting these things out there so people know what's in the works. And in that group in particular, working on ethical and you know, socially and ecologically responsible technologies. You know, they're humane and particularly to be able to develop them collaboratively. And I believe I've seen Roberto in that space in the past too. So that's really great. And Tim, so Yeah, the Connectathon link, if anyone can try that link and let me know if it gets you there. I'm kind of curious about connecting with other people through Kodu if you want, like just in the spirit of what Toria just said. So we could kind of do a little bit of that in the background if people want to try that link. And yeah, so also because I know that yeah, we have some folks with specific passion projects and other pieces that are in the works. I'm going to share about a couple of the upcoming things that are some of those patterns where ways you can continue to plug in and weave connections beyond this event. And I think, Jess, you have some things like that to share as well in relation to what's happening with Transition US. If now's a good moment, you could share a little more about that.
Absolutely. So in the chat, I'm going to drop a link to a page on our website that describes our main programmatic and strategic focus for Transition US, which is our Regeneration Nation campaign. So within that campaign, our goal is to help nurture an ecosystem of communities actively co-creating, sharing, and co-creating, sharing, and envisioning the resources that we need to build a more regenerative and just world. And I recognize you, Arlene, from the Regenerative Community Summit. It's good to see you. So for folks who are familiar with Transition US, the initial kind of origin was heavily rooted in permaculture and this belief that change can happen right in your own backyard, starting within your own household and your neighborhood. So it made it very accessible, and there was a lot of beautiful energy kind of cultivated in the early days of transition. We've also come to the recognition that we need to be a bit more strategic. The stakes are very high, and we have a responsibility to be mindful of the landscapes that we're operating within, the contexts and the needs that are already present. So we've really emphasized regional organizing, and a lot of us are very excited by the idea of bioregional organizing and what that means and what that looks like. So our desire is to invest in collaborative infrastructure, similar to what Keala has been describing with platforms and resources in that regard, but also land-based hubs, places that we can be connected to, where we can train, where we can do skill shares, and we can really feel in our bodies this new world that we're all speaking about in these types of calls. So something I'm really excited to invite you all to is our week of action. This is a very open invitation. We're going to be kicking it off on Indigenous Peoples Day, so October 10th. And the invitation is to highlight and showcase the amazing work happening in your community. So if you want to take on the role of almost a community or regional reporter, write a story about an amazing group who's doing great work. If you are involved with an organization or a group that's doing some great work or needs access to resources, we want to be able to highlight that either through our Regeneration Nation magazine, which you can all check out on our website, through social media, and through our new blog that we're going to be rebooting on the website, where we really want to emphasize the stories of the regenerative communities movement. And if folks have any questions, feel free to email me. I will put my email in the chat as well.
So great, Jess. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I'm really excited about the one of the patterns that's happening a lot is, and I've been seeing in the last couple of years, getting a little bit of echo, so I might, yeah. In the last couple of years, and I think pretty much kind of started at the beginning of the pandemic, there was sort of this ramping of like coherence happening around similar movements and synergy across the regenerative movement, synergies across these adjacent networks and adjacent efforts. And sometimes it's felt a little clumsy, like we're bumping into each other or saying, kind of working on the same thing, but we're not seeing each other, that sort of thing. But seeing that as like kind of a phase in the process of coming into this greater level of coherence is one of the ways that I find some enthusiasm and excitement for that. So I'm excited about the ways in particular that the efforts that carry on to the next thing. So coming up starting in on October 24th to November 4th is the Bioregional Regeneration Summit. And so the work that Jess was just talking about with the transition hubs and the regen hubs, the kind of because basically many movements are wanting to orient towards having hubs and establishing those. And so that's kind of a type of synthesis that can happen where eco-villages or these kind of centers of regeneration where people are working in those ways can can basically combine their efforts. But the other layer about this bioregional regeneration summit that I want to share that I'm excited about is a project on sibling bioregions. And so the sibling bioregions effort is about helping people to become more conscious of themselves as people of place, so beyond the nation state and boundaried sense of identity, but also, and that can happen too, but including having more of a sense of place geographically in terms of watersheds and understanding our supply chains for our food and our local food sheds and fiber sheds and all those pieces. So as we bring that type of coherence in the earlier part of October through the Global Regeneration Collab, which I think many of you probably heard of or seen, but that's at grc.earth. But the Global Regeneration Collab, we're going to be working on basically finding a kind of data set across which we can collect the information in a bioregion so people can help identify that for themselves. And so we're going to work on that. And then once we have that refined, we'll actually be inviting people to fill that out for their own bioregion and help see themselves on the map in relation to other people. And the longer arc of that as well includes people being able to see in a planetary way as well what the kind of analog bioregions are around the planet. And one thing that's really important in the context of bioregions is that culture is actually a strong part of that. So that's one of the nuances, and I think one of the real gifts that will come also from sibling bioregions, where people will be able to share and help to carry and keep alive culture of the regions where they live, and then share that around. So something I wanted to bring in. And Arlene, I see your hand, so I'd love to hear your voice again.
Yes, I'm going to put a few more links in the chat. And this is so important and so interesting. And I think, as so many of us know, there are so many efforts where we're trying to coalesce our work and create hubs and connections and networks. So I just put in the chat a link to something called ℍ𝐵, which is Urban Biodiversity Hub. This is something developed by Jennifer Pierce and a team of basically PhD students and ecologists. And they started this probably 10 years ago. So it really now is more broad than just biodiversity. I think it incorporates the mission of this group, the regenerative work and the agroecology work and so on. What's most important, though, is that not only that I think folks know about this hub and hopefully start to use it to add their projects to it, but Jennifer has just been appointed the lead at the International Union for the Conservation of Nature of a major initiative to basically do what we're all talking about here. And so she globally is going to be working to try to bring everyone together. So I want to make you aware of that, let you know about her work. And if you all map your projects into the ℍ Hub, then that would be a way to further strengthen these networks.
That looks fascinating. Yeah, it looks like a really great idea. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so there's someone asking about the chat. We might be able to get a little tech support there. And I can come to that in a moment. But also wanted to just tune in and see, I see some other folks that are on screen. And so if you feel called to just share a little about where you are, and it can be a reflection on what's exciting and about what's been shared, or things you're working on that you want to connect up about. So I'd love to get a chance to hear from folks. Looks like Matthew, are you ready to share?
Yeah, I have these like kind of Christmassy lights in my room, so my screen looks super weird. But yeah, my background's in mental health. I'm also doing some work with 350 Colorado on climate, grief, and empowerment. So just kind of bringing in some more mental health and addressing burnout and activism. So yeah, a lot of what I'm doing is really inspired with like Joanna Macy and Charles Eisenstein, and really being like, we can't take care of the planet until we, like take care of ourselves, and really like addressing the psycho-spiritual aspect of the climate crisis.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, and if you want to add any links about your work in the chat, it brought to mind some of the other, I know for myself and probably for many people, reading Deep Adaptation or being exposed to certain climate information had kind of a catalyzing, or in some cases debilitating at different stages. And I think so many of us relate to that, and there's such an important side of that. The deep adaptation and positive deep adaptation frame, and some of the things that happen through that include like support circles and things that I've been really happy to see coming up. So thank you so much for being here, and yeah, bringing that in. It's great to hear about that. Lisa, are you up for saying hi?
Yeah, sure. I'm this is completely new to this particular organization, other than getting some of the newsletters, which is of course how I got the link to this meeting. I'm had been a wildlife biologist for most of my adult life so far, and it just finally became more triage than anything. I was just very frustrating. I mean, everyone says, "Oh, you're a biologist." Well, it's really fun, except when you start losing so much. So I've completely switched now to learning about permaculture and regenerative human systems, agroecology, ecosystem restoration, all of that. And I'm now in southwestern New Mexico in the United States, the original lands of the ancient Mimbres people and the Apache. And I also recently moved from Tucson, Arizona, which of course is home to the Tohono O'odham, Yaqui, and other very rich indigenous cultures in that area. And so I'm just now starting to gather up my two small communities to start learning these kinds of things. And so I'm going to actually be giving a little presentation in the next month to just kind of get my little local community started. So far no one's done anything from a community garden on up. So I'm here to learn and to absorb and to connect.
Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, it's inspiring to hear your story as well. Sandy, would you like to tune in?
I was thinking about Robin Kimmerer's book before Lisa spoke about wildlife biology. Some of you've heard of it, maybe many of you have read it, is Breeding Sweetgrass. And she's a really talented writer, I tell you. I've been reading it for about a year. A lot of my friends have read the whole thing. I haven't quite finished it, but I pick it up every few weeks, and it's an incredible book, and I highly recommend it. Anyway, she is a First Nation person here in North America, and also a wildlife biologist, and she's got some incredible tales, I tell you. So anyway, it's called Breeding Sweetgrass.
Thank you, Sandy. You know what, I also recommend listening to it, because it's in her voice, and it is really quite beautiful, since by carrying it that way, it's because that's more of a tradition too, with the oral traditions. And so the storytelling is quite a good way to take it in. So just putting a little plug in for that. Thank you for bringing that in. I put it in the chat, the native land map too, and just it came to mind because some folks have been very articulately communicating First Nations people where they were, and of course it's even more dynamic or complex in Europe due to the duration of time since and just kind of a bit of a longer erasure of indigeneity in North America, in Europe, but there's still like a beauty of seeing just some of what is here and what's being mapped. So that map is an interesting one that there's a lot of density in North America because of the tribal background there. I feel like I see Claudia's mic open. I want to invite you to share. Is that a good moment?
Oh, I just found this. I was on another meeting in life, and transition Transition Missoula is what I've been a part of. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
all right.
Oh, shall I mention?
Yeah, keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah, share a little more. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm on the congregational green team here, and we are installing solar panels on the church, and people can contribute in honor or in memory of someone. And we also have a solar cooking project with the kids that will happen probably in the spring and summer. And we're installing bikes. So people can, we have a program to bike, walk, or bus to church. So that's what I'm doing lately. Thanks.
That sounds beautiful. Yeah, in Missoula, that's really nice. Love hearing that. Thank you. Yeah, and I just kind of bouncing back and forth from seeing if there's folks that want to share, and then sharing some of the other things. But Jose, is it Jose? Is that? Would I invite you to share and say hello?
Hi, yes, it's Jose. I'm from Spain, but I live here in Australia for already like 15 years. Can you hear me? All good. Okay, so I came to realize well, I'm a pharmacist background, and when I first arrived in Australia, I started doing permaculture and aquaponics, and then I had important issues with my intestines and digestive system. So I always eating things and then had pain and things like that. So being a pharmacist, I was auto-medicating, and then all these permaculture things, and came to realize that if we eat properly, we don't need medicines. But as long as we eat variety of fruits, vegetables, and all things that they not preserve, yes, you can do fermented stuff and things like that. So you get all the nutrients, all the vitamins, and everything is in the back. And then, so that's beautiful. And then the other part is growing your own vegetables and things. So here in Canberra, we're doing a little bit of food forest movement at schools and in our neighborhood. And also on LinkedIn, I connected with different farmers in different areas of the world, because I believe in abundance of food, and how we create this is to create little food forests in little farms, and these ones can create a little bit of income. Then the second income can come from workshops and get more students, more researchers in the area. And the third income is I'm passionate about real estate, and really come to my mind that a lot of farmers struggle with cash flow, but not only farmers, like many businesses, no? But I wanted to specialize in regenerative farmers, because these are the ones that are gonna help the planet to heal. And so I'm reaching out to investors, I'm reaching out to people that they are doing fundraising as well, and well, connecting a little bit of cash flow with these businesses, we can start growing exponentially. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, food forest movement, and yeah, sharing with everyone that it's possible to connect and to have that hope.
Thank you for that. Yes, I really appreciate how you shared your story with the food and the aspect of nourishment. The phrase that comes to mind, one that comes to mind, is food is medicine, or food as medicine, and that is a good approach. And remembering that local and organic foods actually have a lot more nutrition in them in a lot of cases and everything too. And there's some really strong research coming around that. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Have a nice night or day.
I know we probably have quite a spread. I think we have people in the middle of the night and And yeah, that's always interesting when people share where they are or what time it is. Yeah, so if anyone else wants to chime in, we do have space. We're going to weave in that opportunity for new thoughts or things to come in, and certainly you know, just a chance to share about some of the projects that we're excited about. Jess, I know since you and I are kind of co-hosting, so we can play with continuing to riff on the various things that we're doing, but also I know there's some other folks that have been you know, sharing more threads. We can keep weaving that way.
Absolutely. I'm always a fan of hearing as many voices and perspectives as we can get into the room. I think what I'm interested in, I'm like very much sitting out in here in the dark, so I'm like kind of shifting between my camera just to preserve bandwidth. But just reflecting on the equinox, at least here in the northern hemisphere, we're experiencing the autumnal equinox and this balancing of light and dark. So that's actually something that I'm interested in. Is like, what are kind of the darker, harder to talk about conversational points around doing this kinds of work that we need to surface, and then what are the things that continue to give us hope and a guiding star to continue moving forward, especially when it feels like so many things are going wrong and the scale and the complexity of what we're up against is just often overwhelming at times. So that's where I'm at. I'm just like, I want to get to the juicy stuff, and I want to respect and appreciate where all of us are at. We're at different places, and being able to acknowledge that and the different contexts of place that we're all situated in is so important as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was part of the reason I was interested in seeing if people wanted to hop on 𝐂𝐿 is because the platform itself visualizes where each person is on the planet, you know, if you include your location. And so I was looking at it for the Connect-a-thon, and I see that there aren't as many people in North America on there at the moment, just a few. And then there's a number in Europe. But it's a very interesting platform, and I know that one of the goals in this exploration of the Connect-a-thon is to use that ongoingly as well. So I'm also aware that there are a lot of platforms, and so many of us are almost overwhelmed by the number of platforms that we are interacting with. And I did mention the Collaborative Tech Alliance earlier, and one thing that we're aiming for there is to enhance and improve the interoperability between platforms, in particular things like chat, so that if you wanted to share a message in a chat, that you don't have to have 7 different messaging applications on your phone that you need to like know which one or paste it to all of them. Or yeah, so there's some real breakthrough humane technology things that are kind of right on our fingertips, I hope. And before I jump over to 𝐂𝐿 any further, Arlene, I saw your hand, so do you want to go ahead and share?
Yeah, I was just hoping that you could, if you haven't already, put those links in the chat. I'm not spotting them here. 𝐂𝐿 and then the collaborative platform that you just mentioned.
Yeah, yeah, so then the
Please.
𝐂𝐿, oh yes, absolutely. Now, I don't know if this link will, for 𝐂𝐿 will, you know, like force, like if you haven't joined already, it might take you to a join link. I'm not sure, but it might. And if you can, then you could join there. And if you can't, that would be good feedback, and I could sort of find out if there's a different link I should provide. And I'm pretty sure, Toria, you're on there, right? You've been able to access 𝐂𝐿, or did you get a chance?
Yes, I'm on there, and I put a link in there for the list of events on this on the Connect-a-thon, but I didn't know if people could get in there if they weren't already members. So yeah, I'm in there. Hope to see you all in there.
Great, yeah.
I can provide some information. So I just logged in for the first, or I just clicked on it for the first time, and I see a choice for me to sign up. So in answer to your question, yes, there is a sign up option.
Perfect. And then if you have a chance to proceed with signing up, you could let us know if you get into the Connectathon event page from there, because that's what it should take you to, and then it would show you the inside of that event. Yeah. All right. A few other folks on camera, meaning that you might be up for saying hi and letting us know where you are and what's alive for you in terms of Connectathoning. And okay, how about Dee and then Pamela?
Hi. So yeah, I would have raised my hand, but I'm really bad at this technology thing. So somebody was really great and showed me the 3 dots that helped me save the chat, but I don't know where it's saved to. So I got a message saying that it was saved. I'm not sure where to. So hopefully I'll be able to find that. If anybody knows where it gets saved to, let me know. So I am in Oracle, Arizona, about an hour north of Tucson. I am finishing up my master's in human geography and working, my thesis is on the struggle to save Oak Flat. So that is at this point still public lands. It's Tonto National Forest, but it also is Apache ceremonial ground. So it, you know, throughout history and still currently. So Apache Stronghold is doing a fabulous job. They're probably appealing again at the Ninth Circuit Court, but if not, they're taking it to the Supreme Court. What else? I am a physical geography teacher, and I work for the Office of Refugee Resettlement with boys that are undocumented, unaccompanied, 11 to 18-year-olds. So I really need to connect with more people and like have no time to do all of the things that I have on my plate. And it's kind of a fabulous feeling because all of those things are mine, like personally, like I know they're mine, but also I'm just not getting to them. So, you know, I saw the link for this and was like, okay, I can do that while I put my groceries away, you know. But I also really like the idea of people talking about some of the more challenging things. And I wanted to offer, I don't know if people are familiar with 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐿𝐴's work. He does I haven't seen a whole lot personally that is really logistical and practical, but it is reframing this space of helplessness and some of the identity essentialisms into a space of like, hey, we really are all in this together. Like these are not his words, these are mine, but this is globalization. Capital is globalized. Labor is struggling to deal with that, and we need to do it cross-culturally, internationally, and some of the ways in which we've actually been forced into each other's lives and onto each other, and there's been horrible injustices all along the way. And also, this is what it looks like when we're all in the world together and not just in our own localities. So that's been really helpful. And I know he has a interactive webinar coming up on looking at trauma in like, have we overemphasized trauma in a way that has maybe kind of denied us some of the opportunity for the story of trauma and the transitions that it could be offering. So I'd love to hear more from other people about other resources about that. I had 3 horrible years and have just kind of come out of it. And I'm like, oh my God, those 3 years were horrible. It was so good for me. Like, there's no way that my worldview would have been so destroyed had it not been so bad. And I needed my worldview to be destroyed. So that's all. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Dee. Yeah, and I have some thoughts, but I want to hear from Pamela first. I'll add some things there.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm not sure. I'm on my phone instead of my computer, so this is all new, but thank you. I'm in Bellingham, Washington, and it's on the Salish Sea, traditional land of the Lummi people. And I've built a house out of hemp and lime. I learned about this. I had a house that needed some repairs, some weatherizing, and I learned from a man named Steve Allen. I went to a workshop, and from that point, I was all in. And so 7 years later, the house is in an international book on hempcrete builds. And, I'm not a builder. I was able to do this though. And so I know it's very accessible. It's very simple. The materials are the same calcium that are in your bones and have settled to the bottoms of seas and are dissolved in ocean water. It's the building material that nature uses for a variety of structures. And the house is wonderful and comfortable and airtight and resists fire and mold. And I cannot interest builders. I cannot interest policymakers. I'm not reaching investors. And I know that we don't have the infrastructure to build this way, but it's the second fastest growing plant next to bamboo. It's a very efficient photosynthesizer. It is good in rotation with root crops and nitrogen fixers. There's a protein. The protein is more digestible. It's the most digestible plant protein. There are so many reasons to learn about how to reintroduce this plant into our environment. And building is a significant one. So, I'm just right now looking for people who want to learn. I'd love to transmit my 7 years of education and experience to someone younger and more energetic and poised to take it a little further out into the world. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. And that's a really specific invitation. And it's the kind of thing that I really hope to see how we can really receive that into the field of our Connectathon, and probably both as a pattern where there are others that have that, they have that mentoring, they have those skills they want to pass to someone, they have a place where other people can come learn, and specifically for yours. And so if there's any more information that you want to share in the chat around how to be in touch with you, like an email or something like that, or some of those skills, if you want to name them. And I see that as part of, in terms of what's possible for us, is to have the networking of those types of opportunities, and especially too within the Global Eco-Village Network and in the other communities movements. There are often opportunities for people to come and stay, either in the similar format as like the woofing, like the working on organic farms model, but basically to be able to come and stay either in a house or in a tent or whatever, depending on the weather, and be able to learn from people directly. And there's a really great model for how we can create project-based learning as a dimension of that, so that people can earn badges. And this was something being explored by Gaia University and a number of other projects. And within the Permaculture Collab, we're also working on that, which is essentially centered around in future skills as well. But the process is that people can learn through projects, learn through actively doing things, but then have a validation of that learning, which as a digital badge that has more data within it as well, that can be used to show on their profile, or in their portfolio, what they've learned and how they've done that. And it just sounds to me, what I was thinking is that's so exciting that people could come and learn from you, and that their learning could be documented as part of how they can carry that in the world to other places as well. So I'm just kind of adding a little bit of what I've been working on the last couple of years into that, and seeding it into this this connection space. And I want to open up the space for anyone who's inspired next to share, or even Pam, if you have more you want to say. Thank you.
No, I think I did manage to find the chat. But yeah, that sounds great. I have had workshops before. My building is finished now, but I'm just, trying to figure out how to connect. And transition is good at connecting people. So thank you.
Yeah, if it's okay, I just wanted to also quickly react, Pamela, and just name like one of the project areas that we're really excited by. And for myself, having come off of organizing a lot in university spaces or college spaces, so many young people are interested in these skills. Many of us across ages obviously see the value of these things, but there are a lot of young people that are like, these are the types of skills and trainings that I need to make it in my future and would make me feel good and like I can support my community. So I would love to connect with you and chat more.
Great, thank you. Yeah, my experience has been like going to university job fairs, for instance, and the students are really excited, but professors are going, well, you're never going to change the status quo, which is really disheartening. And the same thing, I mean, we have a state hemp advisor, and all of the energy and research is into like how farmers can make money on CBDs, which was easily a market in about 3 or 4 years, and all of these other potentials. I don't know who to connect with. What I've zeroed in on is the task is really getting people to have courage to change the status quo. And certainly money, like investment wants a sure thing. And so, even the rebates from the power company on installing an efficient heat pump, they won't support an innovative one, something, they'll support a major manufacturer who has 75,000 cases. So these are the kinds of, how do we move quickly, not incrementally, because we do need to make giant steps. And I really thought that by building a prototype that you could come and test and it would blow every criteria out of the water and be carbon negative, that it would attract investment money and lots of interest. But, the mayor lives across the alley from me. I can't even get him to meet with me. And I can't, but I know he's met with the real estate guy and he's a liberal, So it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating to see a clear path of something that could be really impactful, but not to find the social path, the institutional path. Builders are saying, oh, it'll cost you 20% more. Actually, I have granite and marble and wood floors, and I built for $200 a square foot, and they told me it would be $5. So it's there's a lot of misinformation to protect not doing what we need to do. So letting me have a little blow off of frustration.
Yeah.
Among the group.
I just want to appreciate that that does happen, that there's a lot of these moments that can be quite frustrating. There was some sharing earlier even about how we need more resources to support the impact of those kinds of experiences on us psychologically and emotionally, because it's not fair. So the reason that you should be able to have support around the positive things that you're doing and be able to connect with others who do care and do want to help make those things happen, so that you can basically put your attention where it can flow and be meaningful and thrive, and not to bypass or jump over the longer part of what we could talk about that, but just seeing the clock that we're approaching the time for the handoff to the next hour. And I just want to take this moment to really appreciate everyone that's been here for the journey where we've talked about so many great things, and a lot of it in the context of just transition and transition movement broadly, and regeneration, and patterns around hubs and regenerative hubs. And I just feel that there was a lot of inspiration that we can follow up on this, including I'm curious to see how it will come out, but I'm trusting too that a lot of these relationships will build through this space. So if anybody else wants to add their contact info to anyone directly, you can do direct messaging to each other, or you could share it broadly. And if you are in the if you had a chance to join in 𝐂𝐿 in the Connect-a-thon, you can look for me there individually if you want to connect there, or you know, I kind of trust that our paths will connect more. And I shared several links for upcoming events. I am going to be co-hosting the next hour with John Raymer, and we're going to be hosting that in the context of Team Up, the unity and peace as a broader movement. And I think that's one of the threads that's been in earlier arcs of the Connect-a-thon as well, explorations of how the culture of peace. I did catch some of that with Thomas Legrand a few hours ago. So we'll be giving some updates on some of the efforts and basically having more conversation. So folks who want to stay, you can still take a quick break for a couple of minutes and hop back in. And anyone that has to jump off, this gives you a you know, that moment to do that. I just really appreciate everyone for participating, and I look forward to more weaving of beautiful connections and synergy in this effort of eco-civilization and regeneration. Thank you. Jess, do you have a little closeout you want to share too?
No, again, just expressing gratitude, and I think it's always a sign of success when I'm leaving these meetings feeling lighter and more inspired. So thank you all for bringing that.
Thank you.